Welcome to the finale of Phase 2 with Ant-Man. This was the movie that followed Avengers Age of Ultron and came out just a couple of months after that, in fact. I remember going into Ant-Man having no idea exactly what to expect, but also in somewhat of a confused state because I thought it was the start of Phase 3 and not the end of Phase 2. Because something that even my friend made note of, like several friends of mine in fact, was that it was such an interesting way to wrap up Phase 2, especially after such a big event movie like Age of Ultron. But nonetheless, Ant-Man is the movie that was the capper to this particular chapter of the MCU. And at the time, Ant-Man was a character that I had read some in comics, so of course I had some knowledge of him going in. I mean, it's in the name, so there's not really too much mystery surrounding that. But I was also curious about how they were going to do the movie and eventually include him when it came to the Avengers roster that was building, especially with the new Avengers that had been introduced by the end of Age of Ultron. And I remember watching this movie. In fact, I watched it with my family, and I remember there was this very interesting sense of fun to the entire proceedings. I had such a great time watching it with them, and even my audience was having a wonderful time with the movie. And rewatching it just earlier, I had a great time again. Ant-Man isn't a perfect movie. It definitely has a few, issues here and there, but at the same time, there's something so endearing about the simplicity of it pretty often. And when it comes to dealing with the character dynamics between Scott Lang, Hank Pym, Hope Van Dyne, and the rest of the crew that Scott is working with, the movie nails those so well, and it just makes for such a charming watch at the end of the day. I really enjoy Ant-Man, and rewatching it just reinforces that. And Paul Rudd as Scott was perfect casting. I mean, he's done a great job as this character in all the stuff that he has done in the MCU since this point as well. He's just effortlessly bringing this character to life, all the cockiness and the, comedic nature of him, and also the general sense of aloofness that he has to certain things, while also understanding that emotional core at the center of everything, that being him wanting to just be with his daughter and to be there for her and be a father to her, especially after being locked up in prison for as long as he has. And the movie makes that the emotional crux for every motivation of his going forward. Every decision he makes is with the intent that he is going to get closer to his daughter. And that relationship between him and Cassie, played in this one and in Ant-Man and the Wasp by Abby Ryder-Fortson, it's so sweet, and it's just a wonderfully captured dynamic between the two of them. There's this immediate believability that this is, this father-daughter duo that, you're absolutely rooting for from the very start of it. So it makes every decision that he's making after that, suddenly one that you can back up. It's like, absolutely, you must get to her. And it makes the movie work a lot more. That father-daughter aspect is actually one of the central themes of this movie, because Scott has this thing going on with Cassie, but at the same time, Hank and Hope are distanced after Hank lost Janet Van Dyne in a incident which was many years ago, where he had to stop something from happening, but only Janet could do it. And so with Janet lost to the quantum space and, go on subatomic, it's this distance between him and his daughter that has been created, and again, the movie is working to repair that. And that aspect also does play a lot into all the decisions that are being made. When a movie comes to those aspects, it lands those really, really well. And when it comes to the other, friendships that Scott has, like with the other, crew members that he's working with, like Louise, Kurt, and Dave, they're all very, very good over here. Michael Pena as Louise is absolutely hilarious. Like, his storytelling tangents are the stuff of legend. There's often this thing that comes up, which is that they should have Louise narrate the entire events of the Infinity Saga, like just to, talk about it. If they ever do that, it would be it would be the greatest thing they ever did. Because this guy really knows how to tell a story between this one and then in the second one too, because he's not in Quantumania. Just those moments really sold the movie, and there was just something so fun and entertaining about them. And with the rest of the crew, Dave, Tip T.I. Harris, and Kurt, David Dastmalchian, they're both very funny, especially Dastmalchian. Like, this guy, just with the deadpan responses that he has to certain things, scene stealer, absolutely. One of the best characters that comes out of these proceedings, for sure.
Remember what that iceberg did?
Yeah, man, it killed DiCaprio.
killed everybody.
Not to kill the old lady. She still throw the jewel into the ocean.
Oh!
This is the work of gypsies.
I mean, again, the characters are really what this movie is built around. There's other stuff going on too, especially when it comes to, setting up for other things or, connecting to other things in the MCU, like especially with the new Avengers facility and eventually, Scott meeting Sam Wilson, the Falcon. Like, that's fun and all, but really it's, the personal stuff that really makes it count. And it also makes up for some of the shortcomings, like stuff with Darren Cross, for example, Corey Stoll's character. Stoll in the movie is fun. He's having a good time with it. He's hamming it up in the performance, but he's not the most well-written character. Like, his motivations are very flimsy, and there's just, not much to latch onto him, in terms of a villain performance. So I wouldn't really, sing the praises of Darren Cross at some point of time down the line. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but, if at some point of time in the future, if he came back as some kind of other character, that would be very interesting to see. It'd be interesting, though. I mean, what could he come back as? I don't know. For some reason, I keep thinking of a giant head with little arms and legs. That sounds a little ridiculous, though. I don't know if that would happen. But in this movie, he's good. He has a fun time with things, and, he really makes things work even when the script isn't always working on that. The visual effects are really, really good in this. I mean, just capturing the scale and scope of those moments with Scott just going around, just small model scale things and, just realizing those are massive towers to him, or, running around in a bathtub at one point, going through a party. Just those things feel a lot bigger. My favorite moment in the movie is this brief fight which happens inside of a briefcase between him and Yellow Jacket, and Plain Song by The Cure starts playing because Disintegration starts off. One of my favorite albums that I've heard is Disintegration in the time since, so I do actually credit this movie for introducing me more to The Cure. I know that's a weird thing, like, to attribute Ant-Man to introducing me to The Cure. But at the same time, hey, you never know where you get your musical inspirations. And Plain Song is one of my favorite songs of all time now. So I guess there is that to it. It's a beautiful song. Part of it you just heard in the intro of this video. And so in a lot of ways, I do enjoy a lot of Ant-Man as a result. I mean, those moments are really fun. There's also an emotional connection that you build to one of the ants, Anthony. I felt bad when he died in the theater when I watched it. I felt bad when I rewatched the movie just now. Oh man, Anthony was great. He did his job, rest in peace. Legend. But all of the fight sequences, like especially towards the ending when they're fighting in Cassie's bedroom and on a Thomas the Tank Engine track, that was really, really fun. And stuff is becoming bigger and smaller depending on how you look at things, and it's just absolute chaos, but it's such uniquely constructed chaos. And then Scott's little trip to the quantum realm area where you get these flashes of Janet, which leads into Ant-Man and the Wasp, was really, really cool. And, eventually using that to disintegrate Darren and to take him out. That was very well executed. All those aspects worked for me back then. All those aspects work for me now. There is something, again, just in that simplicity of things when it comes to Ant-Man as a whole, and to the characters of Hank Pym, just wanting to keep this technology out of people's hands and, eventually, going up against some bigwigs in the process. But all of that stuff is very well realized, that it can make up for some of the shortcomings along the way. I don't care much for the villain stuff even now. I mean, none of that really, does much for me. But at the end of the day, I can still watch Ant-Man as a very enjoyable capper to Phase 2. And I have a great time watching it. Also, just a quick little thing. That's my Ant-Man figure. It's to scale. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. I have had, again, the time of my life doing these. These initially started as like fill in the blanks for my channel. Initially I was thinking, wow, I haven't talked about these movies before. May as well wrap that up. But so many of you have been enjoying it, and so many of you have been, tuning in, and it really means a lot to me. It's also at this point that I want to tell you there's a surprise. There is one more coming. This was supposed to be the final one. However, there is one that I did also prepare on the side another extra bonus for you guys. I can't wait to share that final video with you very, very soon. And as always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you very much. Once again, just really warms my heart. Merry Christmas to you all as well, and a happy holidays. And I'll see you guys at the movies.